If you're having to defend yourself, changing shooting positions may be required in order for you to get behind cover and truly keep yourself and your family safe. That means we have to maintain a certain amount of flexibility and a certain amount of physical fitness, and at the same time, we have to practice them. Because as you get older like I am, I'm in my mid-60s, it becomes harder and harder to do these. And you're going to have to define alternative ways for you to be able to get in and out of these positions as you get older. It's also going to be important for you to try to maintain your physical fitness, at least to the degree that you're functional enough to do this stuff with a gun in your hand, okay? So first of all, we're going to talk about the various positions. There's a standing position, obviously, for shooting. There's a couple of kneeling positions. There's a high kneel and a low kneel. There's a seated position, and then there's a prone position. And then there's something called the butt spin, which I've called it the butt spin for years. It's a martial arts lesson that I teach, but it applies to shooting as well. And I'll show you a news clip that clarifies that. But let's start with everything but the butt spin first. And how do you get from one to the other? For me, everything transitions through the kneeling and the sitting position. If I'm starting standing, in order to get to be prone, I have to get through kneeling, sitting, and then prone. And from prone, in order to get up, I have to go to sitting, kneeling, and then up. I can't just pop up and drop down. A few reasons for that. One, I don't have the athleticism to do it or the flexibility to do it, but also I can't seem to do it and keep the rifle pointed toward the threat rather than have the rifle go all over the place. And that's why I have a blue gun in my hand, because as I demonstrate this to you, I want to show you why you should have a blue gun that mirrors your defensive rifle or shotgun so that you can practice these things perfectly safe. You'll discover whether you get in a position where you can't get up unless the rifle's all over the place, and then you'll have to figure out a different way to do it. So this is not the only way to do this. I'm going to show you how I do it with a couple of options, and then you have to figure out for yourself what helps you. All right, so let's start from the shooting position standing. Here I am. I suddenly discover I'm up against some cover where I have to kneel. Then all I'm going to do is step forward with my non-shooting leg a little bit, drop down into a kneeling position, and now I'm behind cover. Now this is high kneel. I'm high, but I'm kneeling. If I want to get lower, I can bend that back foot and sit on it, and that drops me into a low kneel position. Now you may not be able to do that if you don't have the flexibility in your ankle, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So here I am, low kneel. Now I want to get lower still. I'm not small enough. I want to sit. Well, if I want to sit, the easiest way to do it is take this back leg and just fold it forward, if I can do that, and rock back on it. So if I bend it forward and sit, I'm seated. Notice my rifle stayed pointed down range. I should also point out that while I'm moving, my finger is off the trigger, because a jarring sit like that, or something that's going to shake you, if you have your finger on the trigger, it's possible you're going to launch around when you don't want to. Now once I'm in this seated position, if I want to shoot along the edge of cover on the outside, the easiest way for me to get there is just to extend the opposite leg a little bit and lean over. So, for example, if I want to go to the right because I want to shoot around that cover, I'm going to take my finger off the trigger, extend this leg out, lean my body weight to the right, and then use my support hand to lay myself down. Now I can shoot around that cover. If this knee is covered, and there's enough cover to protect it, fine. If not, I can lay that down and get it small too. It just depends, okay? Depends on what you're behind. Now I want to get back up. I'm going to have to get this leg up, put my support hand down, finger off the trigger, bring my shooting leg up, this one up, and then rotate myself back into a sitting position again where I can fight. I want to go that way. I'm going to use the same hand, my support hand, to give myself support and let myself down over here, but this time I'm going to extend my right leg that direction. Now obviously this would be opposite if you're left-handed. So I'm going to extend my right leg over here, use my non-shooting hand, scoot my butt over a little bit to stay behind cover, and here I am. And again, if I need to get this knee down so it doesn't get shot, I can just lay it down that way. There you go, all right? Now to get back up, use my support hand and my feet, rotate myself back up, make sure the gun is pointed down range, not over here, not over here, not at my buddy. If I need to get prone, well, that means I got to take my legs and get them behind me. So one way to do that, again, I'm going to use this hand, is I'm going to rotate this leg around. Now I can't seem on its own to pull that leg back like I need to. So I'm going to grab it with my support hand and pull it back. Now I can rock up on my front leg and forward. And just plant my elbow, scoot my legs behind me, and now I'm in a solid prone position. So it takes a little maneuvering when it's not something that you can do as a young guy and just flop around. In order to get back up, I just reverse the motion. I'm going to put my hand down here, get myself up here. I can go to a seating position like I was going to. I don't do it because I don't have to. If you want to do that, you can go from here to a seated position, pull that leg around again, and then get yourself up from there. I generally don't do it, but you can. And then, same thing. Use that hand to support yourself. Get up to where I was a minute ago. Extend your non-shooting leg, and if you have to, because you don't have the strength to just stand up, if you can't just stand up, put your hand here, your support hand here, push off that knee to get yourself up, and now you're standing again. So there are some shooting positions passing through intermediate positions. You're going to have to figure out what works best for you. Going down, passing through sitting is the way I do it. Getting back up, if I don't need to sit, I'm going to go right to a kneeling position. Let me show you that. So if I'm down here in my prone position, I'm going to use my elbow and my support hand to just pull my knees forward. Now I'm kind of in a full kneeling. Put my front foot up and stand up. Or if you need to, as I said, push off that opposite knee. All right, there's those positions. Let me show you the butt spin. All right, now let's look at the butt spin, and I'll show it to you first, and then I'll show you some footage as to why it's an important thing to know. For many years, I taught self-defense, martial arts, and whatever you want to call that. I taught traditional martial arts, but I also taught just defensive stuff for people to protect themselves. And probably one of the most important lessons I taught people is if you get knocked on your butt, how to get back up again. So part of that is I just got knocked down. Maybe I get knocked down and I do a face plant. Maybe I'm knocked down on my side or whatever. If I'm still physically capable, I'm not out for the count, then it's time for me to get back up again. But I have to defend myself against the people who are trying to hurt me or a person who's trying to hurt me. One way to do that is the butt spin. So regardless of how I end up on the ground, I want to get myself on one cheek of my butt, okay? One cheek, that's all. And this foot's going to come up and it's going to defend me against that person. So if that person's going that way, I'm just going to spin around like this. If they're going the other way, I can rotate around if I have to, if they try to go fast. So this is the butt spin. I can change from cheek to cheek. I can move around, but I can keep that person away from me. If they leave, or if I've struck them in the groin, or I've hit them in the knee or something, now I can use both hands to get myself back up so I can fight. That's the butt spin. How does that apply to the use of firearms? Well, I think we learned that visually in a very tragic event with Kyle Rittenhouse. He got knocked down. I don't know if anybody ever taught him the butt spin, but he certainly applied it with his AR. In fact, before I even pick up the AR, while I'm going to go get the AR, let me show you that footage. A couple of things made themselves readily apparent during that particular incident. One is that a sling, having your rifle attached to you, is mandatory, because if you go down and your rifle goes skidding across the concrete, you're stuck unless you have a backup weapon of some sort. His rifle was on a sling, so he didn't lose it. And then he found himself on his butt down here. Now there's no opportunity to aim. He just had to shoot one guy, spin around, shoot the other guy, spin around, shoot the other guy, shoot the other guy, whatever he had to do from this sort of butt spin movement to get himself, to defend himself against the people that were coming after him. This is where basically almost point of contact shooting comes into play. You don't really need sights to do that. The guy's standing right in front of you, point the barrel at him, poke the barrel in his stomach if you got to, and press the trigger a couple times. But keep that gun in here and learn to spin around on your butt. You have to know how to do that. And if you don't practice it, then you don't realize that part of that is going to be using this hand to spin around, maybe shifting your feet to spin around, whatever it's going to take for you to get to the point where you can now defend yourself. And maybe after you've got the last guy, boom, and maybe you've had to shoot it from down here, however you've had to fire that weapon to defend yourself, you now have to get back up. And so this is where training to get back up is important. Now I've got to keep the gun pointed in a safe direction, finger off the trigger, rock myself forward as I showed you before, get in that seating position and get myself back up. And that's the butt spin. The truth is, whether you're carrying a long gun or handgun, if you're in an event like that, a situation like that, more likely with a handgun if you're doing concealed carry, where you get knocked down, you have to know how to fight from the ground, and you have to know how to get back up.